Well, just when you thought Microsoft was done purchasing studios for the future, an Xbox insider drops some big news that has PlayStation fans looking in every direction, wondering what's going on. What's up, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. And yes, this is all rumor and speculation, so take it for what it's worth. But you guys know I do love talking about this, and Kloberl, my buddy, has an excellent track record when it comes to these talks. He originally unveiled Fable was being worked on, and more recently, even before Jason Schreier outed the Obsidian deal, Klober was the first one to be talking about it. So he knows what he's talking about. He has access to some Xbox Live API where he can look at some things that you're not supposed to look at, or however he gets this information. But when Kloberl speaks, I listen, and you guys should as well. So what exactly did he tweet out today that has the internet rumbling and PlayStation fans looking a little concerned here? Well, his tweet reads, "Let's make this Monday a bit more interesting. I can say that Xbox is in advanced talks a few months with a mid-sized studio that historically worked together with PlayStation a bit. No name dropping because of ongoing negotiations for now, but it's interesting nonetheless." Oh yes, Kloberl. It is indeed interesting. I love this very aggressive Microsoft going out there and shoring up their biggest weakness of the past two generations, and that's their lackluster first party. You know, Halo, Gears, and Forza is great. I love those as much as anybody, but people want more variety of content, different types of things, other studios to be brought in to make games. It seems that Microsoft is doing that, and now they have their eyes set on a PlayStation developer. Who could it be? Now, of course, you have people running around with the idea that, oh, it's finally time, Microsoft's going to get Insomniac. No, calm down. Insomniac is not going to be bought out by Xbox. They value their independence, and, I mean, in the tweet itself it says mid-sized. Insomniac is not a mid-sized studio. In fact, they're just got probably a huge pay raise to make Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 5. So as much as I know Xbox fans would love to throw that one back at PlayStation fans' faces, Insomniac isn't who Kloberl's talking about, at least in my opinion. This is, of course, my opinion. I'm going to go through a list of developers I think it could be and then land on one that I think it is. So definitely not Insomniac. So I know a lot of people are going to be a little upset at that news, but they're doing big things, so it's not them. Now, Supermassive Games is one that comes up quite a bit. They're the makers of Until Dawn, a game that I greatly enjoyed when I played it on the PlayStation 4. They've made games quite a bit in the past for PlayStation. Until Dawn, I think they even made a VR title or two. I think one of them was called The Inpatient, if I'm not mistaken. And they have a new multi-platform series called the Dark Pictures Anthology. Now, I don't think it's them, so I'm just working my way down of what, the list of developers that it could be. I think they got a lot of funding for this Dark Pictures Anthology, and they're also on record saying that they have more exclusives lined up with PlayStation. That kind of even though maybe the studio size fits, I'm not sure there's the type of games that Microsoft wants. So I would imagine that they're not on the short list. So we can kind of cross off Insomniac Games as well as Supermassive Games. Now, you can check out the footage here of Detroit Become Human, and that leads me to my next developer, Quantic Dream. This developer's worked with PlayStation for quite some time, from Heavy Rain to Beyond Two Souls to Detroit Become Human. And yes, Heavy Rain was originally pitched to Xbox, but Microsoft turned it down before, they took it to PlayStation. Now, we don't know what the studio's doing next. We don't know what type of game they're making. They don't know what type of contract they have. Are they with Sony? We know that they're independent. Sony doesn't own that studio, but we're not sure what they're working on next. So it makes that studio a little bit more appealing. Although, of course, the accusations against Quantic Dream that sprang up before the release of Detroit Become Human might make Microsoft back off a little bit. Undoubtedly, I'm going to say that Quantic Dream is not who Microsoft is looking for. I don't think they're a mid-tier studio, and trying to acquire that studio with all the accusations going on probably is not the smartest idea. Plus, they make those cinematic games, the Telltale style games, that seem to be really going out of favor among gamers. Telltale closed down. They're finishing up the Walking Dead season. Hitman Season 1 didn't perform well, so much so that Hitman 2 is performing terribly. I don't really think Life is Strange 2 is performing that well. So that kind of episodic nature, Telltale game stuff isn't doing particularly well, and Detroit Become Human, while it performed the fastest ever for a Quantic Dream title, I'm just not sure it's something that Microsoft really wants to bring in. And that brings us to another developer that has worked with PlayStation quite a bit, and that's Bluepoint. They've done a lot of games, collections, ports, and stuff like that. Nathan Drake collection, recently the Shadow of Colossus remake. So when you read that and you're thinking, that's definitely probably a mid-tier studio. They have worked with PlayStation a lot in the past. It does kind of fit the mold, but it's like, what they do best is they remaster other people's games. Does Microsoft really have an interest in buying a studio for strictly remastering? Now, of course, they could get them and have them make their own game, but they're kind of untested, and I honestly think they're working on something else. There is a Konami trademark for Metal Gear Solid that they recently renewed, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bluepoint is on that team remaking Metal Gear Solid. Or the rumors surrounding Sony and Demon's Souls. I've heard that Demon's Souls remake might be a thing. Maybe they're working on that. So who really knows there? I just don't think Bluepoint kind of fits that bill. So we've crossed off Insomniac, we've crossed off Supermassive Games, we've crossed off Quantic Dream, and we've crossed off Bluepoint. Now these last two developers I think are the most likely, but I'm not going to say both. I'm just going to pick one. So the next up is Ready at Dawn, the developers of The Order 1886, but they've done more for that than just The Order for PlayStation. They've also done some Vita games, so they've worked with, I think they did some of the God of War games for the PSP and the Vita, so they have a history with PlayStation. The thing is, I'm not sure they're a mid-tier studio, and while I actually would like this pickup, I was one of the few people that enjoyed The Order 1886, and Lone Echo, the VR game that they make, people say is one of the best VR games made for the platform. I'm just not really sure that Microsoft would want to go and get a developer that really hones in on third-person shooters. That seems to be what they're really good at, and we already have that at Microsoft with Gears of War. Maybe they want to get it for their location. I believe they're located around California and like Santa Monica and stuff like that. So Microsoft has some studios there, and there's some good talent that they could poach. And it's definitely, I think there's more of a chance it could be Ready at Dawn rather than the other ones. And I think they are working on some projects behind the scenes, AAA projects at that. So easily Microsoft could come in, pick up the studio, and have them working for them. I just don't think it's them. I think Ready at Dawn values their independence, and we haven't heard anything about them facing any financial issues, which is kind of what prompted Microsoft to pick up In Exile and Obsidian, and even kind of took that burden away from Ninja Theory having to worry about the money. So there's definitely a pattern for studios that Microsoft is after, and that's why I crossed off this list. I don't think it's Ready at Dawn, I don't think it's Quantic Dream, Bluepoint, Supermassive Games, or Insomniac. But I think there's one studio that fits exactly what Kloburl's talking about, and that is Housemarque, the makers of Resogun. They did Nex Machina, I think they've done Dead Nation. They are the definition of a mid-tier studio, mid-sized studio. They've worked with PlayStation a bit. A lot of their games came to the PSN, and they're definitely what Matt Booty would say a mid-tier studio of like 50 people. that turns games around really fast, 2 to 3 years, that they could put into Game Pass. So like thinking about what Microsoft is eyeing, studios that they need to provide quality content for Game Pass in a timely manner, and I think Housemarque absolutely kind of nails all those aspects. So there you have it, guys. That is the studio that I think Klober is talking about in his tweet. I think it's Housemarque. I think they fit all the check marks that Microsoft is looking at when acquiring new studios. I think all the other ones I mentioned, while having a history of PlayStation, don't exactly fit each criteria that Microsoft is looking at. So let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Would you be excited about Microsoft acquiring Housemarque, or do you think that my analysis is a little bit off here? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like, share it out on social media with a friend. I'd greatly appreciate it. Hit that sub button if you're new, hit that notification bell if you always want to be notified when I drop new videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.